Welcome to episode 158 of In Touch with iOS, a podcast that talks about iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, Apple TV, and related technologies. I'm your host, Dave Ginsburg, and my co-host, Warren Sklar, is off this week, but I am so excited to welcome our brand new guest, Patrice. How are you, Patrice?
I'm doing really, really well. I have a question. What is related to the Apple Watch? Related technologies. What is that?
Related technologies to anything relating to the iPhone, iPad, Apple Watch, or Apple TV.
So I was kind of wondering.
We kind of blend in. Yeah, but maybe it's probably a good question because I probably should rethink changing that thing I say each week. But we mean related technologies, anything related to those technologies. So that's what we do. But no, thanks for asking us, and thanks for being here. I'm excited to have you on, and we'll find out a little more about you as well as find out what makes you buzz with Apple devices. We always ask that of new guests, but we are not alone. We are also here, returning as always, Mr. Jeff Gamet. Hey Jeff, how you doing?
I'm doing great, and this is actually really cool because Patrice, I always love getting to hang out on shows with you. So this is
me too.
This is like a really nice bonus because here both of you are.
Yeah,
this is number 3 this week, right?
This is not number 2 for me this week because the other ones I was off.
Actually, you're right, Patrice. For us, this is our third show together this week.
Nice.
Yeah, we're on the Mac Show on Fridays on the British Tech Network, so we have a lot of fun doing that. That's how I've met Patrice, and she was kind enough to have me on her podcast, the Foodie Flashback, which we had a lot of fun talking about Chicago food, and I know you just said Kelly Gamet coming on the show here soon for you as well. So, but we'll find out more about that stuff. Let's dive into some of the news we have this week. A fair amount of news, and we've got some tips, and we got some stuff we'd like to talk about, as we always do. First. The first article I have here, this is in Mac Rumors, and I have to say that a lot of these articles I had bookmarked beforehand for our guests because we talked about them earlier on Mac Show. So just as you know that, you guys know that as I start talking about it here. So Apple TV Plus, the series Defending Jacob is now available on DVD and Blu-ray. Apple TV Plus series Defending Jacob is now available for customers to purchase on Blu-ray and DVD instead of being exclusively available on Apple TV Plus on Apple devices and supported TV and streaming boxes. This was spotted by a 9to5 Mac. They're charging $34.99 for a Blu-ray and $19.99 for a DVD. Who pays $20 for a DVD these days? Let alone $35 for a Blu-ray for that matter. But we had fun with this, Patrice. So what do you think? I don't understand this. I'm shaking my head. We go buy a DVD player for that kind of money.
I mean, I can understand it from Paramount's perspective because they own Defending Jacob. I'm guessing that Apple only has the streaming exclusive. So they cannot put it on their own Paramount Plus service, but they can still sell it. And I mean, there are people that just don't wanna have Apple TV, like for whatever reason. I mean, I don't get it. You could watch the DVD 5 months in a row, and you would still pay less. So it's like
yeah,
I'm
you
not
already
so
have
sure.
the service.
Yeah, exactly.
And Jeff, earlier today, you looked up the price of a DVD player, and you could buy a DVD player for what they're charging just for the DVDs.
Yeah, I found a region unlocked DVD player for $18 shipped Amazon Prime.
So
crazy stuff. But I guess I see what Apple's trying to do here, and I would probably more spin it on a reasoning basis here. It's Apple wants to get their name out there with their content, and like you said, not everybody subscribes to Apple TV Plus, and they probably won't, and people still prefer to have the DVDs or Blu-rays in their library, and that's understandable. Yeah. So
I'm not even sure.
I'm sure this
is Apple.
Go ahead.
As far as I've read, this is not even Apple. Apple is not involved at all, not mentioned on a DVD at all. Like, this is Paramount.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's
still makes no
actually
sense, but
that's a really important reminder for people that Apple is not actually producing content for Apple TV Plus. They are buying content for Apple TV Plus.
Right.
And a lot of people they aren't aware that distinction is there. And well, I mean, it's the same with Amazon Prime and Netflix.
Even Netflix. Yeah. I mean, I think they own, like, doesn't Netflix own a studio? I think they do. So they have some content that they own actually outright. But I mean, Ted Lasso on Apple TV Plus is owned by Warner.
Right.
It's like the same.
Which you would think Warner, HBO. But I think they've scored a big one with having it on Apple TV. So I think we'll be talking about our Ted Lasso here just a bit here. Let's go ahead and move on to the next story. This is also Mac Rumors. Apple always has these creative ads. They shared a new ad. This was actually today as we record this, a new ad called Haystack, in which a rancher uses his Apple Watch to find his iPhone in a haystack. The ad plays on the needle in a haystack idiom and is set to the song Searching for Someone Like You by country singer Kitty Wells. So I find this particularly interesting because, I mean, I've talked many times of many stories of how you're able to find your iPhone when it's lost using Find My and other things. But this one is an interesting spin on this. So what do you think, Jeff? This is definitely an interesting one.
Well, I hadn't seen it until this morning. And watching it, to me, it came across like a really great metaphor for finding the needle in the haystack, and implying that as difficult as it can be to find your phone when you have misplaced it, that Apple has made it incredibly easy to do that.
Yeah.
So it was a great visual.
Yeah,
there was.
I mean,
they always have good ads.
Yeah, Apple always has good ads. I'm not sure this one is one of those. I watched it before the show. Like, we talked about it earlier, and I watched it. Like, I wanted to see it, and like, for me, it fell flat. I mean, I have more the question: what did the people smoke that they came up with that idea? Which
maybe
I mean,
some of
since
that.
They're from California, since they're from California, like that's definitely possible. No, as I said, I don't know. On paper, I think it looks like a good idea. I didn't really enjoy the execution. Like, they have had way better ads than this one.
Yeah, I agree. Well, it didn't really stand out, but again, it was interesting though. Then next story here is U.S. President Joe Biden has directed the FTC to draft right to repair rules. U.S. President Biden plans to direct the U.S. Federal Trade Commission to create new rights to repair rules that would affect tech companies like Apple. The rules would prevent manufacturers from limiting consumer options for repairing products at independent repair shops or on their own. And the president's directive is expected to mention mobile phone developers as an area for possible regulation. The FTC would be able to decide on the size and the scope of the order, so it's not yet clear how Apple might be impacted. But as we talked earlier, I think Apple will be impacted because Apple is very restrictive in who can repair. But I think Apple's going to have to. It's going to have to twist their arms here and say, hey, you're going to have to allow us to be able to do our repairs. We have a right. A good case point is iFixit. Our friends at iFixit, they're always taking things apart and finding out how an iPhone and any other device works. And it's definitely something interesting. What do you think, Patrice?
I mean, Apple will be impacted because Apple is just a high value target. Like, anything that it has to do with Apple is in the press, which I think from a political standpoint is important to talk about this and have this in the media. I'm not so sure about whether we need it or like the way it's done, whether that's the right approach. But I mean, honestly, I think this. I don't care, but this is a political thing. Like, I mean,
it's political, and that's why I didn't want to get too political on this show, but it is, but it's still. I think for us to have the ability to be able to repair our iPhones or our iPads or our Macs for that matter.
Or for someone to do it. I mean, I'm not so sure about us. Whether I don't want to fix my phone. Honestly, like I'm not even sure I would be able to. Like, maybe a battery replacement I could manage and so on, but I don't want to. But I want to be able to go to a store somewhere that is not Apple and say, I have an old, this is an iPhone 6 here. Like, I don't think Apple repairs that. and say, okay, this is broken, like, I don't know, camera broke or something. Can you fix it? And I want to be able to do that.
Right.
And right now, as it is, that is pretty hard.
I agree. Jeff, you have any thoughts?
I know we're not getting political here, but how about if we get logistics political here?
Okay.
So when you look at what the FTC has been tasked with doing, you need to look at the process. And the process, realistically, is the FTC is not going to write this themselves. Yeah. It will be lobbyist groups that write it for them. And it's no secret that Apple and other tech companies have dropped a lot of money into lobbying. So it's very possible that at least the part that applies to personal electronics will be written in such a way that it allows companies like Apple to be able to have a little more flexibility in how they handle right to repair. The other side of this, for me, is what if the FTC goes way overboard with this? Are we facing the possibility that we could see a federal mandate that essentially dictates how device makers have to design their phones?
Mm-hmm. That's an interesting thought. I mean, that could happen. I mean, how many device makers are we talking about? Like 3, maybe? I mean, there's Apple, there's Samsung. LG just left the market, so who's left? Like, who's left who would be affected by this? Let's put it this way, because there's always Huawei. Yeah. But, I mean, they could do that. They could. I hope they don't, because I don't think that's good for innovation.
I agree.
Yeah, you never know. Like, that's the problem. You never know.
Right.
Yeah.
And we have seen it many times over our lifetimes and lifetimes before ours, where governments with good intentions create legislation that does not have the outcome that they intended.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, let's go ahead and move on here. We'll talk about this is on iClarified. Some users reporting sudden HomePod failure on the 14.6 and 15 beta software. Some HomePod users have been complaining that their HomePod speakers suddenly are failing on the HomePod software on both the 14.6 and 15.0 beta. This was a thread that was put out on Reddit. 7 of 19 of the HomePods had stopped working. This person has a total of 19 HomePods at home. Boy, lots of money there. Whoosh. And 6 of them are on beta, and others were on 14.6. As of today, 7 are no longer working on the beta, and 3 on 14.6. And they use HomePods normally. And so a lot of people have been reporting this as I don't see it being a massive problem because my HomePods are updated to 14.6, so it's obviously it's a isolated thing, but they had to make some press here. But it's obviously it must be a legit issue if someone's having this many problems with this. Patrice, what do you think?
I mean, the fact that at first I heard it was only happening on the beta, and I was like, oh, I mean, that's a beta, it could happen. Yeah. But that it's happening on 14.6. I mean, that suggests almost that it's something that was might even be hardware related. Because if it's breaking on both, there's a possibility that there's some hardware issue that we haven't caught. Or, I mean, Apple could have introduced something in both the beta and 14.6 that broke them. I've had no issues. I mean, I have a Mini and I have 3 other HomePods. They work fine.
Yeah, me either. I have 2 HomePods and 2 HomePod Minis, so
yeah,
hasn't been a problem. Yeah. What do you think, Jeff? I'm sure you haven't had any problems either, right?
I have 1 OG HomePod and 2 HomePod Minis. No problems. What I have seen just from different things I've been reading, the pattern that seems to be coming up out of this, and I say seems to be because we don't have much information to really go on. Right. In some of these cases, people are doing HomePod pairing for stereo. And in some cases, they're using their HomePod as a sound system for Apple TV. And they're saying, and when I say they, I mean the people that are having a problem. They are saying that that it appears that something's happening where it's actually causing some sort of hardware failure after the update is installed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. In fact, I did reset my two HomePods only because I think there was just something wonky going on with them. So I went ahead and reset it. Now, I mean, I haven't set a stereo pair, but now it's automatically defaulted to my Apple TV. So I have an Apple TV next to me here with my TV. And now that I play it, it's like, whoa, because I wasn't so used to it. Because I would either go through my audio through my TV or I could control switching it. But actually, I mean, it sounds really good through the Apple TV. I really like that, especially in the stereo pair too. So. But we've been talking about this with the old, like you said, the old gen HomePods. Who knows how long Apple's going to continue to support them? I hope for years to come, because there's a lot of them out there.
I hope Apple takes care of the users that have ended up with bricked HomePods.
Yeah, that too.
Now, the people that are renting the beta, they will probably have a hard time getting support from Apple, but people that are running the 14.6 public release, they should have an easier time. So when I say have the people running beta having a hard time, the attitude you have when you contact Apple will play a role in the quality of service that you get. Yeah. So if you have a HomePod that has been bricked by one of these updates, instead of going in guns a-blazing, go in polite and nice, and stay that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I
mean, does no good.
No, but I think since it's happening, I mean, if it was a beta issue, even then, I think if you're nice, Apple would do it. But since it's happening on both versions, I don't think the beta matters.
Right.
Apple would just, I mean, if Apple does anything, they would just say it doesn't matter. Like, it wasn't caused by the beta.
Yeah.
They should.
Yeah.
They should.
I certainly hope so.
Next story, Apple is participating in a sales tax holiday for select U.S. states. Every year, select U.S. states do offer businesses and consumers incentives of having no sales tax as the best way to help boost sales and overall for anything, and aimed at helping families lower the cost of back to school shopping. And the dates for each state differ, but the selection of states this year is relatively small, which is, I seem to remember like Massachusetts and Illinois never was in it, as where I live, and don't think Colorado really was either.
I don't think Colorado has ever participated in one of the tax holiday events. And now we feel bad because you pay a lot of tax where you live, Patrice, and in the UK as well.
20%.
Hearing what sales tax, hearing what sales tax we pay, 10 and 11%, and 20 is like crazy. But the 4 U.S. states that are going to be participating is Alabama, Missouri, South Carolina, and Virginia. So it's kind of a weird, kind of random place of. I mean, you go Virginia to the north, and you have South Carolina to the south, Missouri in the Midwest, and Alabama kind of right there next to it. So, what do you think? What do you think, Patrice?
I mean, this is cool. I think it's. I mean, it's like 2 or 3 days, so it's not massive. But I mean, if you're planning on buying something, I mean, let's wait. I think Alabama's actually
a big thing, like Mac.
Next week. Alabama's next week.
Yeah.
Missouri is a couple of weeks away, like beginning of. So everybody else is 6 to 8 August. So that should be fine. It's cool. I mean, it's not nothing. I mean, if you have, I don't know what sales tax is in Alabama, but I think it was like 9 or 10%.
It's up there.
Something like
I think
that.
most states.
Yeah. So
some states are lower than others.
Yeah.
Although our friend Chuck, the Pennsylvania, it's only 6%. So
yes, Arizona is about the same. But like Alabama, I mean, as I said, it's like 10% on, I don't know, a MacBook or something. That's a lot of money.
That makes up a lot.
That adds up.
It sure makes it up. Yeah. So check it out. This is obviously as we are recording this. This is July 9th, and the links in the show notes, so where you can take a look at when these sales are happening if you happen to live in those 4 states. So check it out.
Lucky you.
And then our final story, our final story this week is Apple TV Plus posts a new Ted Lasso video ahead of the July 23rd premiere, and I was super excited to go watch this. Ahead of the July 23rd premiere, Apple TV had posted a new Ted Lasso video on its official YouTube channel called The Lasso Way. The video had combined clips of new season from the new season with the interviews of the cast of the series, discussing how the feel-good show has positively impacted their lives and the lives of many viewers they've heard of since its launch. I really enjoyed it. It was only like about a 2.5 minute video, but worth every second you watched. Second season's very widely anticipated, and it's been being promoted by Apple CEO Tim Cook during the company's events, and he really pushed that. And in fact, they're even selling a line of merchandise that goes along with it in the United States. So I might be clicking that link and seeing. I don't know if I might say. What do you think, Jeff? You enjoy the show, I assume.
Right? I did. I really enjoyed it. I was very pleasantly surprised. I'm not going to lie. I think that Ted Lasso is a great point comp test because if you do not have a strong emotional reaction at some point during every single episode, you are very likely a replicant. And
I did every time.
But seriously, I'm pretty sure that I cried at some moment during every single episode.
Same.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to season 2, and I loved that when they did this little promo teaser thing, that they presented it with a very human and emotional feeling to it, because that's just right in line with what the show is.
Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. I mean, what do you think, Patrice?
I'm a massive fan of the show. Like you said, like every episode has it.
Me too.
I think the last 2 episodes, I basically cried the entire time. Like it was just that good. And the thing is, I mean, I thought I wouldn't like it at the beginning. I just rewatched it. Like I thought it wouldn't.
Same here.
I wouldn't like it at the beginning because I don't care about soccer. Like I just don't care about sports, and I wasn't sure about it. But it's not about sports at all. It's about people, and people is something I'm totally behind. So I'm super excited. Like it's I'm counting the days. It's 2 weeks exactly. It's actually a little bit less because like, it should be out by now. So a little bit less than 2 weeks.
I went back and binge watched the whole season again, and I smiled and near tears the second time. It's just such a great show.
I've done 3 times now. So, and I might I have 2 weeks. I might do another one just because.
Yeah. So July 23rd, we'll be talking about it, and of course, they're going to tease us and make us only watch 1 episode a week, unlike Netflix, where they can bring out their shows.
Yeah, I know some people don't. I actually and I, at the beginning, like when Netflix started doing binge releases, I was happy to do it, but now I'm actually happy that it's one a week because it gives me time to think about it and get excited for the next one and so on. So I actually like this weekly release.
I like the Netflix way. And the reason I like it is because you now have the choice. You can binge if you want, or you watch at whatever pace you set. And for me, watching at the pace that I set is great because sometimes I'll watch an episode of a show and then I immediately want to jump into the next one. Yep. And other times I'll watch an episode and I want to give it a break for a couple days or a week or whatever while I process it or just do something else so I don't burn out on the show.
Right.
The problem that I have with doing this more traditional television release cycle where it's once a week is that I stopped paying attention to when shows air a long time ago because we got TiVo back in the day. And it changed for me. And then that moved on into streaming. And so if you do a weekly show, the only ways that I will stay caught up in the show is if it's so good and just draws me in that I'm just like on the edge of my seat. And I will literally put it on my calendar so that I know what day it is. Yeah. Otherwise, it's I see people posting on social media about the episode, and then and then I stop looking at social media, go watch the episode so I don't have spoilers, and then go back.
Right.
Otherwise, I'm out of your show.
I get a notification. So I just get a notification, new episode of Ted Lasso or whatever.
Now, see, Apple is great with that because I get the push notifications on my phone. There's a new episode of Ted Lasso. Why am I saying Lasso? There's a new episode of Ted Lasso out. But there are several shows that I have started watching that do the once a week thing. And because I don't know what day they actually start, and I don't care to really keep track of them that way, I'm out. I'm just out of the show.
Well, yeah.
You
forget about it.
Yeah.
All right, so let's go ahead and move on to our topics this week. And we always talk about beta here at the show. And but before we do that, Patrice, since you are a new guest here, we always like to find out what you have as far as your Apple gear and when it comes to iOS and iPhone and all that. What kind of iPhone do you have?
I have an iPhone 11 Pro Max. I have also, I think it's actually using it as my camera. I think this is a 6S from my company phone that I literally only use as a camera for nothing else.
Yeah.
I have an iPad Pro. I have 2 MacBooks, like personal and work one. HomePods I already mentioned. Apple Watch. Like I'm all Apple out. AirTags somewhere. Like everything there.
And Apple TV too, right?
Apple TV. Actually, I have 2 Apple TVs. I don't even own a TV. So that's the funny part.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh,
no, I moved here. I moved here, and I didn't need a TV, so I didn't buy one.
Ah, gotcha.
Yeah.
All right.
But I still have the Apple TV.
And I figured you were all in, but I know our listeners are new to hearing you in most cases, so I wanted to make sure everybody knew what made you buzz when it comes to Apple stuff. And like I figured, you're all in, as I knew that.
I'm on it. And I'm usually
like me. I have it all.
Yeah, and I'm usually all beta. Like on my work machine, I have the stable version running. I have Big Sur running. But my personal machine is like day one. I get the beta, which actually wasn't the smartest choice because it broke audio hijack.
Oh, no. Yeah, well, that's where it goes.
Exactly.
So good. Glad we were able to find that out. Again, as I was saying, beta this week. We always talk about beta, what's going on in the beta world, and Apple did release this week, as we record this, iOS 14.7 and iPadOS and tvOS and watchOS. Beta 5 was released this week, and I'm still perplexed to why this still is continuing to be a beta when we've got iOS 15 that the developers probably should be focusing on at this point. But I think the biggest thing was this beta release was to squash that bug that was causing the iPhone not to be able to connect to any Wi-Fi networks, which was kind of a big problem here. And then, Patrice, you being the early adopter of beta, are you running on this? Or are you running iOS 15 on all your devices?
As I said, other than my work phone, everything is in 15 beta.
So we can't actually say, because I am running iOS 15 beta on my iPhone 10R that I use for a camera. And I know Jeff, you don't dabble in beta too much, other than maybe an iPad here and there, right?
I have 2 iPads that I run beta on, and so they're both on 15 because I typically, when we're in this transition phase, I'll have one iPad on whatever the current OS beta is, and the other one on the upcoming iOS version. But I wanted to do some comparisons, and I did, and now I realize, well, now I'm kind of screwed up on keeping track of what's going on because I don't have a current beta device anymore. But whatever, it's all good. But I do have a hypothesis on why we have this lag with the release of iOS 14.7.
Yeah, I like to hear that.
My hypothesis is that Apple is having some sort of issue with what they want to do with the higher quality audio files, the lossless audio files on HomePod. And they're still hammering out exactly what that what that is. And once they get that figured out, then that drops into the beta, and then they push it out.
Yeah. Actually, that's a good point, because that's, honestly, the only feature that beta has.
And Patrice, you said you've been running iOS 15 on all your devices.
Yeah.
What's really been standing out to you so far that you've been enjoying? I mean, there's so many features. I know but we're going to wait until it gets released out before we really give a comprehensive view.
So many
features. But I'm curious what you think that's been really standing out to you so far.
Shortcuts and the shortcuts and the new focus modes, because I'm using that extensively. Like across my devices, like literally for this podcast, I have a focus mode. It's called podcast. And when I trigger that, it actually turns on like the lights and everything. So I have like a lot of automations that I'm using. That's, I would say, one of the big standouts. On the iPad, like the whole multitasking thing is really, really good.
Yeah. Absolutely. Jeff, anything you've been standing out so far for you on the iPad?
The multitasking. And what I'm really looking forward to trying out is universal control.
Yeah, which hasn't been turned on just yet.
Yeah, live text is the other one that's big. Like I'm using all the time.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. So, but I got all the links here in the show notes of all the things that have been released in 14.7, excuse me, and also watch OS 7.6 and tvOS. It's kind of nothing too terribly exciting other than squashing that bug. So let's go ahead and change gears a little bit here. I wanted to talk a little bit about faces and complications on your Apple Watch. And all of us have Apple Watches, and I've always been curious to know what type of faces that people like to use and what they actually set up when it comes to their Apple Watch. I've always been appealed to the infograph watch face. I really like the way that lays out, and I've got a couple complications in place. But Patrice, what watch face do you use, and what kind of complications do you like to use on your Apple Watch?
So I literally had to check because I'm rarely changing them. Infograph modular is. Like, the funny thing is I actually have two, and I set up two faces for a reason. Like, one was supposed to be my work one, and one was to be my, like, private, like, when I'm not working one. And honestly, I only use one of them. I use the infograph, which is which has all my activity and all of that. I have the activity, I have, the workout complication, I have the decibel thing, like the noise thing, and the heart rate complication. So no third parties at all. It's basically stock, but I really like it.
Okay.
Because for me, it's like I use a lot of notifications, but other than that, it's a fitness device. So. Yeah.
Do you? I don't change the color like in the internals. I keep it all black with the dial on it. But the people like like the white or the red, and then have the little dials in there. I've kind of just
hard to see.
And the complications, I keep like the phone and the messages and on mine, and but some people like others, the music they use. Or I don't use my watch too much for music too often, but
to control other things, but not to listen to music.
Yeah. So, and the battery I have on here too. So, Jeff, which watch face do you like? I'm
clearly the outlier here because I really tried so hard to like infograph, and I don't.
Okay.
So I use the utility watch face with almost exclusively third-party complications. The only Apple complication that's on there is the date, which is the one that's inside the watch face ring, and then I use dark sky for keeping track of weather, and then I'm using pedometer plus to actually show my step count on the watch face, because that's my throwback to having a Fitbit. That step count has always mattered to me. And then because we have to do with forest fires a lot and a lot of atmospheric inversions that keep bad air trapped, I'm using I have to hold on. I'll tell you which one. It's one of the air quality indicators. Air Visual. So I'm using Air Visual as my other complication. And so I can just look and see the AQI number on my watch at a glance. So like right now, the AQI is 52. And and then I don't even have the numbers for time on the watch face. Like, come on, wake up. There we go. So it's kind of plain. But I did make a second one for workouts. And the funny thing is, most of the time I forget to actually go to that watch face. And I made a bunch of others because I thought I'm really going to use all of these customized watch faces for specific activities. And it turns out, no, I'm actually not.
Maybe with shortcuts and with automations that you can automatically switch them. Maybe.
Yeah. Be interesting to see where that goes.
Yeah, because I have the Siri watch face and I really like it for work, but like I said, I never switched to it. So.
Oh, there you go. Well, it's always interesting to see what other people are doing with the faces and complications. I don't ever hear too much talk about that, so I thought it'd be a good way to find out our guests and what we do on our Apple Watches. So good stuff here. So next topic I want to talk a little briefly about is the App Store. A lot of people complain about the App Store, honestly, because it's really sometimes can be very hard to navigate and what you want to find in apps. But I think Apple's done a little better job of the way they've organized it, because when you first open the App Store on your iPhone, the first thing you see is today, and then it says what's going on. Of course, everybody's excited right now that Black Widow, as we record this, has been released on Disney Plus, that you have to pay $30 to see if you want to watch it on Disney Plus.
Wait, are you serious?
Yes, I am very serious.
Well,
October 6th, you have to wait.
There goes my plan for this evening.
Unless you want to put up $30 right now, you have to wait.
Nope.
You have to wait. So they always have a highlight of something that's going on in today, which is cool. And then the now trending tends to show a lot of trending apps right now. Interesting that you have Snapchat, TikTok, YouTube, and Tinder in my top trending apps right now, which I always find interesting. And then they throw a trending, whether maybe like a sports app, in this case it was ESPN. But I like the way they lay out stuff like for arcade and the game of the day, the app of the day. They give an app of a day, which is usually pretty cool. And then they put more stories view, which kind of lays out some different stuff and the basics. And I like this one this week. They've got the video 101, shoot, edit, and share. That gives you some ways of finding things. And then the search, I think, has gotten, they've improved. I think it's gotten better, but it could always have room for improvement. What do you think, Patrice? I don't know. This is probably the most you've heard anybody analyze the App Store in a while. But what do you find? What's your dislikes and dislikes of when you be able to find an app that you want?
I mean, to be honest, I barely ever use it, and I think that's a problem for me specifically, or like a way how I specifically use it. Because I mean, I'm on so many Apple podcasts that I very rarely need to discover something. Like it's usually like Jeff or you or Chuck or someone is talking about an app. The search. Honestly, I rarely go into the App Store itself and search. I just use Spotlight and just enter the name, and it will show the App Store page for it. So it's rare that I really end up in there. And as I said, I think has nothing, like it's not that the store is bad. It's just it's not the way how I discover it. I think for other people that are not in this area where we talk about apps all the time. For them, I think it's good. And like the articles I've seen, like when I went in there, for whatever reason, the articles I've seen and so on, I'm like, they're really, really good. Like really impressive. Yeah.
I like the articles. I do. They use some good detail, specific apps. So maybe it's time to go into the App Store. What do you think, Jeff? I mean, do you crawl into the App Store like I just described, or you're used to kind of the same?
I do a hybrid process. All of my friends tell me about really cool apps, and I go in the App Store to see what's going on there too. Mm-hmm. And the stories thing that Apple does, I think it's great because they're doing something about discoverability, and they're making it much better than it was because, well, actually, that wouldn't be difficult to do because for a long time there really was no discoverability.
No, it was horrible.
Yeah, it was absolutely horrible. But giving us things, like the Video 101 and there's one that's in there right now, getting started with LiDAR. Mm-hmm. And that's great because if you don't realize first that you have an iPhone or an iPad with LiDAR built in, well, now maybe you will. And you'll see that there are apps that you may already be using that can support LiDAR, or like when I was just looking a minute ago, I found that there's an app in there where you use the LiDAR in your iPhone or iPad to scan a room, and it makes a 3D model of your room. Okay, that's really cool. And I probably wouldn't have found that app otherwise. So I like what Apple is doing. There's still a lot of room for an improvement, and I appreciate that I'm in a circle of friends and colleagues where we are all basically a discovery network for each other. And I wish everyone had what we have.
I'm so happy that you go into the App Store, so I don't have to.
That's right. I take one for the team.
You lean on us. You lean on both of us to find what the latest good apps are. So so go in the App Store, check it out. It is worth just a few minutes of browsing and taking a look at that. So next topic here is I really have talked about the Apple One bundles in quite a while. You really don't hear much talk about it. We talked about it quite a bit when it first came out, but I kind of wanted to talk about how do you sign up for them and how much value do you find in the bundles? First off, Patrice, are you using a bundle at all with the Apple?
Yes. I do. I mean, I'm lucky that I have a US App Store account because that makes it actually worth it. Because my family is still in the US. That makes it actually worth it because in other countries the value is not there, to be honest. But I use it. Isn't? Okay. Yeah, I use it a lot. I mean, I love Fitness Plus. Apple TV Plus we just talked about. For sure, iCloud and so on. Like it's a really good price for what Apple offers. And I mean, if you think about it,
I agree.
For a company that used to be really bad at anything service, this is pretty good. This is like really impressive, like how far Apple has gone from like a company that couldn't even get email right to running a really big service, like everything.
Yeah, I agree. And I've got the Apple One bundle. I've got the Premier bundle that I'm paying for. So it's the it's got the whole shebang. Yeah. So $30 US a month, and I figured out, you know what, this might be a better value to share this with my family. So with my wife's family, the sisters, my mother-in-law, and others. So now they're sharing in the wealth of my 2 terabytes of iCloud data, which I'm still only using about a quarter or half of it. So it's a good bundle. Jeff, did you find any value with the bundle at all?
I did. I switched to the bundle deal just a few days ago. Because I actually, I seriously thought about the whole process of when was the right time for me to switch, because I knew I'd need to eventually. Because we've had Apple TV Plus for free for so long now that that when that was ending, that was going to trigger when's the right time for me to make the switch. And so I looked at when the different subscription things that I had were all going to roll over. And I'm like, okay, so if I do it right here, I've already paid for everything and now I'm going to pay again. But if I do it right here, I'm only paying for one thing twice. And so that's what I did. And then a few days later, I had a refund from Apple for the part that I had paid double for. And I'm like, seriously? So I put so much thought into this, and all I had to do was say, "Oh, I'll do it now," and they were going to take care of the rest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Apple was really good at that.
Yeah,
absolutely. In fact, I'm still getting $4.99 credit for Apple TV Plus because I jumped on the bundle right when it came out, and I think the last 6 months they've been giving me Apple TV Plus credit because I had still had my free year going, so they've been very generous with that too.
See, that's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they've been great with these bundles, and I find it highly a good value. The premier bundle, I think, is just a steal. I mean, it's $25 a month you're saving, and you have all 6 services and 2 terabytes of iCloud. I've already started. I mean, at first I was saying I probably won't go into play Apple arcade games much, but I've been finding myself going in. I found a couple. I enjoy solitaire once in a while here. Found some cool new solitaire games, and they keep adding some new stuff. So I'm finding it to be a lot of good. I mean, but you have the 3 plans available. You have the individual at $14.95, the family for $19.95, and then the Premier. And I do find I'm using News Plus more and more. I was a subscriber to News Plus, and it's great to be able to have access to all those magazines and Wall Street Journal and a lot of other news resources. And in fact, we use them for our podcast too to get news stories. So if you haven't gone back out yet and checked the Apple One bundles, I think we all would in the consensus that we would highly recommend jumping on it.
Absolutely. And I did not do the premium bundle. I did the basic one, the $14.95, and then I'm paying extra for the additional storage that I need for iCloud. And Apple figured that all out for me, so I didn't have to go in and undo and redo anything with the extra storage I'm paying for. So I'm paying exactly what I paid before, and it adds in Apple Arcade.
Nice.
And so I'm not paying anything extra, and I'm getting more than I was getting before.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Awesome.
I wouldn't have paid for News or Arcade, but now that I have it, I'm like, it just made sense to just do Premiere, because with Fitness Plus and so on, it was basically the same price. I'm like, I'm getting more for the same price, so I might as well do it. But now that I have it, I'm actually using it quite a bit. So,
see, Apple was really smart that way.
Yes. Exactly.
Absolutely. So check it out. In fact, it's even easy just to sign up to on your iPhone. All you have to do is go into the Settings app, tap your name at the top, tap Subscriptions, tap Get Apple One Bundle, and the option will be listed there for you. You choose the bundle you want, tap Subscribe, and complete the Apple Pay checkout process, and boom, you're done. So you don't even have to go to a website to do this. It's right on your iPhone.
That's exactly how I did it. Here was my process.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on my couch watching some show streaming, and I got an OmniFocus reminder that this is when I needed to do the switchover. So I just did it on my phone while I'm sitting there watching a TV show, and set my phone down, and that was it. It was like a minute-long process.
It's awesome. So go check it out. Go definitely check it out here. So this, I thought, was an interesting topic to bring up here. Is if you think about it, we've had iPhone. I think all of us here have had iPhones probably since the beginning. I didn't have the first iPhone, but I've had every iPhone after that. I was the smart one and didn't buy the new iPhone right away and waited until the 3G came out, the second gen. But since the first gen iPhone went obsolete pretty quick, it's been 11 years since iOS 4. Think about it. We're on iOS almost 15. iOS 4 was 11 years ago, and it's hard to believe 11 years has passed since that was released. And there were some great new features that were added to iOS 4 at that time. Was amazingly revolutionary. Well, they still are in use today, and we continue to use them, and we take for granted. But think about them. Think about how valuable they are now in our everyday use. So I have a list here of some of the things that were introduced in iOS 4, and then we're talking about 2010. So the iPhone was 3 years old at that time. So multitasking, you weren't able to do multitasking before iOS 4. Think about that. I couldn't even survive on an iPhone without multitasking. spell check. I remember you couldn't even copy and paste on an iPhone before.
Yeah.
Compared to the spell check. Having the home screen folders, that was a game changer for me. I couldn't stand having it. And a lot of us are kind of weird with it, how our apps are now. Now with the app library, it makes it even nicer.
We all needed the home screen folder to put all the Apple apps in that we did.
Yes.
Yeah, because you couldn't get rid of the apps. That's right.
Yep. I still have my folder on my last screen, and it's called Verapente.
That's funny. I just called it crap.
Yeah. Now, Game Center didn't excite me, and I still don't like to really sign into Game Center because I don't want to be tracked to what games I'm playing. So I guess that was kind of revolutionary. We're still using that today. Custom wallpapers. You were stuck with the stock wallpapers up until iOS 4. Think about that. And now look what are you doing now? I think my latest wallpapers. There, you guys can see on the camera the picture of my car. So I love the fact that you could put any photo you want on your home screen. Were you say something, Jeff?
Yes, I realized I made this for iOS 4.
Did you?
You haven't
Yes.
changed it since?
And that's what I've been using ever since iOS 4.
I change mine all the time.
Yeah, I like changing it. I get bored after a while. It's like the last one was like on a beach. I was like, I'm bored of this one. Let's change it. Oh, my car. I like looking at my new car.
Well, hey, I spent like 10 minutes in Photoshop putting together an image that I got from NASA and image I got from behind the scenes BBC Doctor Who, and made that. So I'm clearly invested in that image.
Absolutely. AirPlay. Think about not having AirPlay now.
I could not survive without it.
I just did it.
Yeah.
I can't survive. I just shared my screen onto my Apple TV, and we're planning for a vacation. I want my wife to be able to look at the screen without me having to move my head for her to see the screen in front of me. Yeah, how could I not have AirPlay at that time?
Yeah. Was that even?
It was kind of just like.
Was that even AirPlay video, or was it only audio?
I thought it was.
I don't remember. It was so long ago.
11 years is a long time ago. I mean, I thought it was video.
Yeah, it could be. I remember dissecting what they did behind the scenes and being really impressed. Like, I was some crazy engineering with that.
I mean, think about it too. I remember it drove me nuts when I had my first iPhone was the 3G, and right away I wanted to be able to share my screen. Think about when Steve Jobs was on stage and had that top secret dongle that he was plugging into the iPhone to be able to show it on screen.
We had that. I was working in support, and we had that. We got that from Apple directly.
Did you?
Yeah,
Did you really?
Yeah,
wow.
that was like for our presentations and so on. And that was a big deal. And now you just
because I remember
AirPlay, like
reflector, all kind of QuickTime. So many ways of doing it now. So, but no, AirPlay. That's still revolutionary to this day. The Retina display that came out at that time. So in iOS 4, we're probably like around the iPhone. I would say probably like the iPhone 4, maybe the iPhone 4, iPhone 5, maybe the 4S. Yeah, that was. I had the 4S. That was.
I remember
that was a tiny little guy.
Yeah, I remember going to the Apple Store to see the screen because I was waiting for my phone. And so they had the display models out. And I remember looking at the screen and thinking, people are not going to believe this is really the screen. They're going to think that this is a printed, like high resolution printed image that's being backlit.
Yeah.
Because it was that much better than anything we'd had before.
Yeah, exactly.
And now we just take it for granted.
Yeah, now we're beyond Retina.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. XDR display, HDR, all kinds of higher end displays.
Like all of that.
Liquid Retina and LiDAR we just talked about. I mean, it's just that one there just kind of started the revolution to get us to where we are today. So, and then finally, FaceTime. Yes. I mean, think about it on the Mac. We always were using iChat. Remember iChat?
Even worse,
which, by the way, was revolutionary.
It was. Yeah. And I talk about that on one episode that I brought that up, like how revolutionary iChat really was compared to what was out there during that time. Yeah. But FaceTime is the thing now, and that started in iOS 4.
Yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate that Apple didn't do too much with it, and others basically caught up. I mean, we're using Zoom right now. We could be using FaceTime. Apple just didn't do much
with the supporting of Android. Now with the support of Android and Windows and being able to get more audiences into FaceTime, I think
11 years later
we got took that long finally. So I thought that was a fun way to go down a bit of memory lane here and talk about what was cooking. And I might try to do this as we go along here with the future episodes. Talk about what was in iOS 5, iOS 6, all the way down. I think about it, we're at 15 now almost. How many versions of iOS was out there? So it's cool. It's cool stuff here. So let's dive into a couple tips here I had this week. I've got some links here in the show notes. Always liked our website OSX Daily. They always have some great tips on here, and I thought this was a great tip here. How to rename AirTags. Sometimes you might regret what you named your AirTag in there, but they do give instructions here on how to do it. And the way you do it is you actually just go into the Find My app, and as soon as it opens, you'll be able to see what enabled devices are in there, and then you find any third-party accessories, including AirTags, you can select them, and then you can go in and look to see where they are. And at the bottom of the menu, it does have, if you scroll down under the lost mode, rename item, then you can go in and rename it. So, which is cool. And then if you also can change the type of what the type of device in the case of. In the case of Warren, it'll be his dog, but in my case, I usually have it on my keys and other places. My keys, and I have one in my backpack. I thought this was a good tip to for those who have AirTags.
I'm going to throw out a totally self-serving comment here.
Please.
The video I did after AirTags came out, how to do everything with your AirTags. If you want to see like a video of how to do the rename, that's part of the video that I made.
All right. Well, we'll make sure we have that link in the show notes for you, and we'll put that in there. So check that out. If you want to rename them, you don't have to regret it later. And this tip, did you put this in here, right?
I did.
Jeff?
No, I did.
The short. Oh, you did. I'm sorry. Oh, go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. It's your tip. So let's hear it.
I talked about shortcuts earlier and about the automations, and this is one I discovered like a little while ago. I think the website is BBC, and they talk about how to do BBC Player.
It is.
But it doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't have to be the BBC radio stuff. It can literally be anything. Yeah. It's an automation when you have, like, when you use any iOS device as your alarm in the morning. You can basically, when you set the alarm, when you, like, any alarm really, you can set up an automation that when the alarm is turned off or turned on, that it triggers an automation and shortcut. And I set it up that in the morning, because I had like a HomeKit scene that's like turns on my coffee machine and turns on the lights and stuff like that. But I always have to trigger it manually. And I set up this in my iPhone, and basically in the morning when I wake up and I tells my HomePod to shut up, it turns on the lights, it turns on the coffee machine, it starts playing a podcast on all my HomePods in the house, and it basically wakes me up, and I really like that. And
that's awesome.
Unfortunately, you can't share those, so the only thing you can do is do screenshots and basically follow them step by step. That's definitely something Apple should change, but there's how.
Check that out.
Yeah, super easy, and I've created so many automations now.
I need to do better. Just like Jeff and I talked about the shortcuts last week. I need to do better in learning and creating shortcuts. Yeah. They're just so powerful. And once they get on the Mac, it's just going to even be more over the top and insane to be able to do this. So, thank you for sharing that. That was a great tip. Couple more we got here. There is ways of hiding your private photos and videos on your iPhone. You know, everybody, you want to hand your phone to somebody, you want them to look at photos, but there might be some photos there you may not necessarily want them to look at. So what you can do is the default Photos app actually lets you hide the photos and videos directly in the app, and you can move those photos anywhere you want. And the way you create a hidden album is you open up the Photos app, you find the picture and video, and you want to hide. You tap Share button, and then you hide it. You confirm that's the one you want to hide, and what it does is it puts it into a hidden folder. And most people aren't going to be prowling through all your folders, but at least it gives you an option to be able to hide and put them in a hidden area as under other albums. I think that's a good way of just keeping prying eyes out when you're just doing a quick, handing your phone, hey, take a look at this, and not people go like this and start looking through your photos. And I don't know if you guys have if you've used this feature before. I do once in a while, but I don't hand my phone off to people too often, so I don't use it too often.
Exactly. I mean, other than my wife, I don't hand my phone to anybody else, so not gonna happen.
Yeah, same here. Do you use this, Jeff?
Of course I do. The thing that's always seemed weird to me is that it's a thing for hiding your folders, but in a folder that's clearly visibly named hidden items or hidden whatever it is. So everyone knows that you've got images or videos that you don't want people to see, and yet there it is.
Maybe the trick is to put the things that you want, leave the things that you don't want people to see out, and just put some innocuous stuff in there that people should look at, like some cat pictures or something.
Some cat
so people will see, there's something hidden. Let's go there and ignore everything else.
Yeah. And everyone's mind is reeling about. I wonder what kind of images Jeff doesn't want other people seeing. I'm really sorry. It's not nearly as exciting as you were thinking. It's like, okay, I'm doing something where I'm like, I need to keep track of, say, my just something short term that other people shouldn't see. Like I've got a credit card number that I just need to hold on for right now, or
a driver's license.
Yes, I had a photo of my driver's license in there for a little while, and it's stuff that other people just don't need to see. So why have it there where they can see it? And I don't even know if I have anything in my hidden folder right now. We're about to look.
I didn't.
If I start blushing,
I looked. You start blushing.
Then it's more than just my driver's license. Sorry, there's nothing exciting in there right now. Sorry.
Too bad.
That's okay. All right, so let's. One last thing we want to talk about here is I have one app I wanted to bring up this week. This is an app called Transloader. I just discovered this actually today. This was my cool thing on the Mac show. I thought this would be a great tip, a great app on here as well. What you can do with this app is you initiate downloads on your Macs remotely from your iPhone, iPad, and other Macs. So whether you're on a Mac, an iPhone, an iPad, there's time that you might want to download something on a Mac that's currently you're not in reach of. Specifically, like it would be zip files, maybe even PDFs. You can actually go through and download them, and you're actually going to be able to also initiate these downloads right from your iPhone. And as long as your Mac's on your network, you could send that over to your Mac, and when you get home, you'll be able to see, this is the file I've been looking to download. So I thought this was a really cool app. The iPhone app is free, but you're going to need to pay for the Mac app. And the cool thing is, either you can pay $9.99 and that's in the Mac App Store, or if you're a SetApp subscriber, which all of us are here, you get that included in your subscription with SetApp. So check it out. I think it was a cool app. And I think neither of you knew about this until we talked about it earlier.
No, I was excited to learn about this one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so at least it'll be free for us because we have SetApp. Mm-hmm. So
yeah.
And with that brings us to a close this week. This show, we had just had a blast here, and the time has just flown by. So we appreciate you being here. And let me go ahead and wrap things up here for this week. That's a wrap for this week. Please send your comments, questions, and suggestions to our email address, feedback@intouchwithios.com. You can follow us on Twitter @intouchwithios. You can subscribe in your favorite podcatcher, including Apple Podcasts and many others. But better yet, go to our website at intouchwithios.com, where all the links to all the ways to listen to us are are there. I am Dave Ginsburg, and you can find me on Twitter at DaveG65. And Patrice, thank you so much. I'm so glad you came onto the show. And where can people find you?
Well, they can find me all over the internet. I'm usually on the British Tech Network, on The Big Show and The Mac Show with Jeff. And then I just show up random places. I also have we talked about it at the beginning. I have a really cool podcast called Foodie Flashback where I talk to really interesting people about food and whatever comes with that, like memories and favorite places and whatever. And I did, like, the current episode is actually with David, where we talk about, like, all the good food in Chicago. Not even all of that. I'm pretty sure there's even more.
No,
like
it was a small...
Yeah, exactly. But, I mean, it has been a while since we recorded that one. I'm still hungry. Like, it just sounded all so good.
I'm waiting for you to come out. We're going to have some food.
I will do that. So, foodieflashback.com is where you can find that, and everything I do you can find at thepatrice.com.
Great. Thanks for being here. We'll have you back again. I really appreciate it. And Jeff, as always, thanks for being here. We always love having you on the show as well. Tell us, everybody, where you can find you.
Well, thanks for having me back on. Seriously, it's always just loads of fun. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I am Gamet, both places, and on YouTube. That's youtube.com/jgamet. And The Big Show on Thursdays, The Mac Show on Fridays, many Tuesdays on Mac Voices Live. And this week, I'm also on Apple Context Machine. And
again, good.
Yeah. It turns out Brian had more that he wanted to talk about with me. So, I know.
Not surprising.
Yeah.
Well, all right. I appreciate you both being here. I appreciate everybody listening. A programming note, I am going to be off next week. I'm taking vacation, so I do take a little bit of a break, and so you won't have an episode next week, but we'll be back the following week with some more antics and fun with this show, and we'll really appreciate you listening. And with that, thanks for listening, and we'll talk again soon.